So I'm now at the stage of knitting the sleeves, and as the circumference gets smaller, so the number of stitches on our needles gets less, and so we're using the magic loop technique. Normally what you do is you place your stitches on 2 needles, and when you come to the end of your worked stitches, you pull out this needle to the front and bring it round, and then carry on knitting along the next needle. And the only issue with this technique is always this section here. It's between the stitches you've left on the wire and the ones you're about to work off the needle. And the problem is, because the wire is obviously thinner than the diameter of the needles, it's getting this tension correct, and it's how much you pull in the working ball thread as you join up against the gap. And sometimes it can create a sort of ladder down the side where you're doing the join between the two. So instead, I've been using a new technique which someone recommended to me, and it was from a website called Phrancko.com, and I think it's a really clever technique, and now this is what I'm now using as my magic loop, or improved magic loop technique. So I'm just going to pull the needle back to where it was. So I've worked that last one, and if you can imagine, I've just worked to the end of here. This is my working ball, and then I'm just turning around just as you would normally do with magic loop. But this time, instead of pulling this needle right out, I'm actually only going to pull it out 4 stitches up. Doesn't have to be exact, 4 or 5 is fine, but I mean, you get into a habit that it seems to always be 4. And all I'm going to do is just pull it to the end of the needle, and then just turn it, rotate it. I'm just pulling it out a little bit. As I rotate it, I can then bring it forward, put the yarn to the back, and I'm then in a position to knit. Now, the reason why this is such a clever method is, of course, you can see those 4 stitches are now sitting on the needle and not on the wire. So I don't have to judge the tension of these stitches at all. I can just knit as normal. So straight away, I'm working the stitches, and it means you get an incredibly even tension all the way. Now, it will mean, of course, also each time you turn it, you will turn in a different place. So again, you're all the time rotating. So let me just get to the end of this section, and I'll show you again how I do it. It's very easy once you get into the routine of it, and I think it works so much better. So I'm just get to the end of my stitches on this needle. I've got 2 threads sitting in front of me on the table, and it's because I'm doing alternating the balls as I go. So in a moment you'll see I've got 2 threads. Let me just get to the end. So as normal, I'm just going to work to the end of there, and then I need to rotate it. So the first step is, first of all, I'm just going to bring the yarn over the top of the needle out of the way, and just looking down, I'm just going to let go of the needle I've just been knitting with, and just from the other end pull the thread at the wire right through to the end, so that the stitches are then on the needle. So that's the first step. I then rotate, bring the yarn back. Now this is where I pull out the needle 4 down. So I just looked from the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then pull the needle and just push it up. And then you can see those stitches are now sitting on the needle. I can then bring the yarn and needle into position, just rotate it, and I'm ready to go. And again, as I said, the main good thing about this technique is you don't have to think at all about the tension as you knit across, because of course they're all still sitting on the needle, and you just keep on going. So that's the improved magic loop technique, which I think works really well.